One of the reasons that we've discussed before as to why Elon had the explosive exit from the White House that he did, and why Doge reportedly is just a husk of its former self. It's just a husk of Doge. It's just a shell of what it was before. And it's not, as Elon and Trump promised, continuing as strong as ever. And just Elon has other things to work on. And sure, there were ideological differences. There was the political problems being created by Republicans, or for Republicans, by Doge. Ripping apart all these programs was causing them political toxicity. But a lot of it was personal. And that's what, as we hear more and more about what was happening during that Doge era, a lot of why it fell apart wasn't even because they saw how disastrous it was, but because of petty personal differences, fights that would break out. Like we already talked about Scott Bessent, who I didn't know had the physical capability of screaming, but apparently he was screaming at Elon Musk, and they had gotten a physical confrontation. Now we're learning about another explosion, as it's described by the Daily Beast, of Hegseth against one of the Doge staffers. We'll talk about this, then I'll get into Elon's plot that is developing that could ruin the Republican Party completely in the midterms. But this report's really interesting. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth angrily shouted at a representative from Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency in a tense Pentagon confrontation. During the showdown in early April, the defense secretary reportedly yelled at the Defense Department's former Doge team lead after the staffer was accused of calling the Pentagon police on one of his subordinates to have him removed from the building. So there was all of what's actually sad, and why I'm bringing this to you is, I think if you had a more hopeful heart or mind, you would say the reason that Doge fell apart so quickly and Elon left accusing Trump of everything under the sun was because they realized, literally causing mass death with the dismantling of USAID, getting rid of the very institutions that hold people accountable or kneecapping them, and all of these actions that Doge were taking while still not really getting the savings at all that they were proclaiming that they were getting. They must have seen that. And for all their faults, they went, okay, this isn't working. But that's not actually what happened. It was egos clashing. They're not even good enough to realize they made a mistake. I don't think they believe they made a mistake other than feeling like their ego was challenged. So in this case, it was Hegseth, and the cabinet officials turning against Elon was a big factor in him getting pushed out. Bessent was one of the more prominent ones. But Hegseth had his own run-in, where one of the Doge staffers, the top Doge person to be at the Pentagon, was kind of feeling like they owned the place, and was supposedly, there's some uncertainty about what exactly happened, but saying they're going to call the Pentagon police and get this Hegseth employee removed from the building. So then Hegseth runs in and goes, how dare you? You can't speak to my employees like that. You don't run this place. That was kind of the nature of the interaction. One other little detail about the personal drama that has taken place: Elon Musk changed his phone number after nasty split with Trump. Says Mike Johnson, he blocked me. What the hell? I feel like he probably just blocked him. I feel like maybe Mike Johnson doesn't know the difference. But Speaker of the House Mike Johnson claims billionaire and CEO Elon Musk changed his phone number after his public falling out with President Trump. I sent him a long text message, and then his phone number changed because after the blow up, something happened with his Elon, you there? That's so funny to picture Mike Johnson just texting Elon, Boo Boo Bear. What about all of these? We had like conversations together. We did Ketty together. What the hell, Elon? And Elon, I can't imagine he changed his number for all of the people. I bet he just blocked Mike Johnson. But it was stuff like that. That's the real reason they broke apart so much, not because of principle. And I think that we should emphasize that. But whatever the reason is, I'm really glad that it's causing such a divide. Number one, because it ripped apart the disastrous effort that Doge became. Government efficiency would be great. What they were doing was terrible. And that's number one. But number two, Elon is now motivated by Trump's terrible bill, starting his own party, like we talked about, the America Party. And while it has no chance of taking up a bunch of seats in the House and Senate or winning the presidency next go around, what it does have a real chance at doing is ripping away votes from Republicans, and that's something I threw out to you, but now we actually have polling on it. Mediaite reports new poll, Elon Musk America Party would swing the 2026 election from GOP to Democrats on generic ballot. So one of these, polls ran the numbers, and without the America Party, Republicans, I guess, had an edge, which is terrifying. But with the America Party, Democrats ended up taking the House. I don't know if that's just for the House, probably so. But maybe it's talking about the Senate too. And that's the very phenomenon that I was talking about that could be so good. Especially, I saw a bunch of Republican accounts, and we can't get too lost in the sauce of online discourse because usually it doesn't reflect stuff on the ground as clearly as you would imagine it to. But there were a lot of right-wing influencers saying, all right, well, now I'm considering the America Party after the whole Epstein debacle. And if just some voters went from thinking they were going to vote for the Trump-backed Republican in these races and then swung over to backing the America Party, that could make a huge difference. And the frightening nature for Republicans of the midterms, it's not looking as well, as great as I would want it to for Democrats, but I think they'll make progress, hopefully, in the coming months. But Republicans are panicking. We talked about that yesterday. And instead of just trying to roll out a better message and better policies or realizing the mistakes that they made, they're just trying to rig the game, really. Not rigged elections like Trump says, but just rigging these congressional maps, trying to gain more Republican seats through further gerrymandering. Elon reports Trump floats controversial redistricting plan in Texas. Newsom threatens retaliation. And that's the next piece of this while we're on the subject of the midterms. Gavin Newsom said Trump said he's going to steal 5 congressional seats in Texas and gerrymander his way into a 2026 win. Again, he's referencing the drawing crazy, even more unrepresentative, demographically insane lines in Texas to gain more Republican seats. And he says, well, 2 can play that game. Special sessions, special elections, ballot initiatives, new laws. It's all on the table when democracy is on the line. So he's saying, if y'all are going to play this game, I normally don't want to get into that. I don't want to make our lines more funky. I don't want to leverage some of these maneuvers that make it more about political gamesmanship than just allowing the election, the voices of the voters to speak as representatively as possible. But if you're going to do it, I have some tools as well. While we watch this, please do remember to click the subscribe button and drinkpep.com. Get yourself an energy drink that you don't have to feel guilty while you drink, uplifting your gut microbiome.
National framework for independent redistricting, period, full stop. I mean, gerrymandering, and let's be fair, we've seen this weaponized by both parties for decades, but these guys, this is a whole nother level of weaponization coming from the right. And what Trump did today is the ultimate tell. They feel they're on the ropes. They feel they're behind. They feel they're vulnerable with the big, beautiful bill. They feel like the momentum is shifting away from them, and it's Speaker Jeffries, it's not Speaker Johnson. So on that basis, they got to rig the game. You got to change the game because you can't win by the existing rules. So he goes in and talks to these guys that should be focused on flood preparedness, should be focused on restoring NOAA and the weather investments that they need to make and the resiliency efforts, to talk about getting FEMA back on track and how little accountability with Kristi Noem and some of those early decisions that were made or not made. Instead, they're using that special session to weaponize for the next election. And that's just scared the hell out of everybody because these guys are playing by a different set of rules. And so from my perspective, if we're going to play fair in a world that is wholly unfair, we may have the higher moral ground, but the ground is shifting from underneath us. And I think we have to wake up to that reality. And I'm talking to members of my legislature, what are our alternatives? We can do a special session. I can call for one today if I chose to. We can then put something on the ballot, and I could call a special election. We can change the Constitution with the consent of the voters, and I think we would win that. I think people understand what's at stake in California. I think we'd come out in record numbers. And
he continues to go through examples of how if we're going to play these games, he's willing to play them. And normally I value so much that we collectively would want to stand on a little bit more clear principles. I agree. If they're going to play those games, play them back. And then hopefully you remove the ability to play those games if you got power, but that's kind of a little bit down the road. I do know while a lot of people were watching this, they were confused. What happened to his hand motions? Gavin, did you see the show? We were making fun. We liked him. We like our hand motions. That was a weird voice. No, this. We got him. We love him. I think he saw the show and he felt bad. I've never seen his hands so attached to the table before. If you're watching this, we like them. We like them. Then headlines like this are scary. DOJ hits states with broad requests for voter rolls. Election data. The Trump administration's allies have launched a multi-pronged effort to gather data on voters and inspect voting equipment, sparking concern among local and state election officials about federal interference ahead of the 2026 midterms. They're going to pull out all the stops. And that just makes our responsibility that much more grave. Share your thoughts in the comments.